Going to go ahead and get started. We have a full house, so we're going to try and get through our recognitions. Thank you for coming. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Dr. Thomason, roll call.
President Reese, please let the record show that all 5 board members are here tonight, but we understand that you have a special celebration to attend tonight and will be leaving us early, so we wish you luck in that.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And if I can ask for our ROTC folks to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great. Thank you. We're going to go on to our agenda. I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 That motion carries 5-0. Dr. Thomason, we're going to go on to awards and recognitions.
Thank you, President Reese, members of the board. Tonight we have lots of celebrations tonight, and at this time I'll turn it over to Mrs. Reese to start doing some of our introductions. Mrs. Reese, you want to start off with our retirees?
Thank you, Dr. Thomason. Madam President, board members, community, and what a wonderful audience we have tonight. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'd like to first welcome Ms. Mum Martins, our Director of Human Resources, to recognize some very, very special people.
This is an exciting night, and I'm honored to be up here to recognize the following individuals. I would ask that all of you please hold your applause till the end. We're going to name each individual, bring them up, and then do a group photo and also allow them the opportunity to share who they have with them tonight. So I'm going to first ask that Miss Vicki Kane come up. She has been in education for 26 years, 19 with Higley, and will be retiring from Coronado Elementary. Next, I have Mr. Daniel Contreras. Again, 15 years in education, 4 years with Higley from Sossaman Middle School. Miss Carol Cronin, she's been in our transportation department for 11 years, and all 11 here at Higley. Darla Hargis, 26 years in education, 16 with Higley, retiring from Higley Traditional Academy. Looks like Ms. Hargis couldn't be here today. Next, we have Miss Lori Hibbard, 15 years in education, 9 years with Higley, retiring from Centennial Elementary. I apologize, it's 22 years. Deborah Hoogley, 13 years in education, all 13 with Higley, retiring from Sossaman Middle School. Terry Larson, 20 years in education, 17 years with Higley, retiring from Sossaman Middle School. Donna Stevenson, 19 years in education, 14 years with Higley, retiring from Coronado Elementary. Cheryl Turner, 15 years in education, all 15 with Higley, retiring from her most recent assignment, Chaparral Elementary. Centennial, pardon me. And last but not least, Miss Syria Watson, 25 years in education, 3 years with Higley, retiring from Power Ranch Elementary. Darla, you came in perfect timing. We have Miss Darla Hargis, again, 26 years in education, 16 years with Higley Traditional. So before we do the picture, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic down, and if you would like to recognize individuals that you brought with you here today. I know I put you on the spot, Darla.
I know. I do. I have a lot of my friends here and my co-workers, and I'm so glad that you could make it here tonight. Thank you.
I am here with my amazing sister who also taught in Higley for a few years, Linda Boatman.
I have several colleagues as well, but my husband, Wes, my 2 daughters, Michelle and Mariana, my son-in-law, Tyler, and 3 of my 8 grandchildren.
Thank you very much. I'm here, and our principal, Mr. Dolan, back there. And thank you very much.
Well, in the transportation department, I got Josh Crosby and my daughter Beverly, who is the safety director of transportation.
I have my husband, all my children, my 3 grandchildren, and my 2nd grade team. Yoo-hoo!
I also see Mr. Dolan back there, and Rochelle Anterary is here with me tonight, the teacher I work with for many years.
My husband Bruce is here, and many of my colleagues, and my wonderful principal too, Mr. Dolan.
I have my sister, my adopted daughter, her boyfriend, my team from Centennial, my principal from Centennial, and many other colleagues that I've had over the years.
I have my husband, Matt, and my older son, Ben, and then my parents are both here. And I have my wonderful principal, Chris, and assistant principal, Michelle, and then I've got colleagues here, and then a surprise colleague. So.
Yes. Just want to thank all of you again for all your years of service, and especially your service to Higley and what you've done for our community, our students, and your colleagues. Thank you. One more round of applause before that photo.
Yeah, no, you can't. We won't let you go. I've got a while to go. I'll hold you down.
That's what I'll do. All right. Yep, we're going to have to scrunch up. Yeah, we're going to have to go sideways.
I don't know, maybe, yep, right there. Perfect.
Thank you guys so much. What's behind here? I wonder what it is.
Michelle's going to announce it
okay.
tomorrow.
I'm like, yeah, I wonder.
You bring up Dr. Fountain. I'd now like to welcome Dr. Tim Fountain up for special recognition from Dr. Thomason and the board.
So tonight we're recognizing Gateway Point Elementary of being A+ School of Excellence. Dr. Fountain and his whole team have put together an incredible program to get this award from the Arizona Education Alliance. And then so we want to make sure we recognize them for their A+, and I want to let Tim say a few words. Tim?
Well, this is just a small portion of the team who worked very hard on this application. It's quite the rigorous process that we got a chance to go through, but very reflective, and so we're honored to have this recognition. And I know that we've got a couple sister schools that I think will be up here next year doing the same thing, so we appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you. Let's come on in for a picture with Tim and our A+ banner for Gateway Point Elementary.
And the celebrations continue. I'd like to welcome up Colonel Vaughn and Staff Sergeant Altop from the Air Force Junior ROTC program for Higley Unified School District.
Senior Master Sergeant. That's E5 to E8. It's okay.
Ouch.
Cool. Tomorrow's PT day. It's going to stay warm for you, too. We have a great team in the back. We're going to have them come up in just a moment. But on April 6th, 2019, the Higley Air Force JROTC drill team competed in the Desert Classic State Drill Championship at Alhambra High School. The Higley team was capping the end of a successful season that started with an overall grand champion win at Hamilton High School's Desert Talon in December and continued with a very strong showing at the Gallegos Memorial Drill Meet in April. With only 11 drill team members this year, every cadet had to learn every sequence, armed and unarmed, and be ready to execute with precision and discipline. This small but mighty team did not have the luxury of having enough members to allow for specialization in either armed or unarmed categories, as many of their competitors did. At Desert Classic, competing against 26 other teams from all branches of service, the Higley Air Force JROTC drill team rose to the challenge. The team brought home the grand champion runner-up trophy for second place overall. The team did take first place in unarmed sweepstakes. This is a composite category comprised of all unarmed sequence scores, including inspection, regulation, exhibition, four-person exhibition, and duo exhibition. They took first place in armed and unarmed inspection. They absolutely blew the judges off the drill pad. The inspection categories include uniform, grooming standards, knowledge questions, military bearing, and professionalism. The Higley team takes great pride in training specifically to blow those judges off the pad. Junior varsity color guard. A lot of us see the color guard team perform at football games and special events. At drill meets, the color guard team performs a preset sequence that includes uncasing the colors, then marching a series of turns and reverses within a tightly constrained space. Both the varsity and junior varsity teams performed extremely well all year, with the JV team peaking at the state championship. And our armed solo, Cadet Corbin Pierce. Cadets have the opportunity to develop their own sequence, choreographed to showcase their strengths. In Corbin's case, he emphasizes precision of movement and spin speed. Oh, and the double helix, during which he spins two 8.69-pound rifles at the same time, over and behind his head with a spin toss in front. He's the only cadet in the state to successfully do this in competition. He's also inspired a whole lot of his compatriots back there who have been practicing to see if they can compete next year. They also took second place in the overall armed sweepstakes, armed exhibition, and unarmed exhibition. And they took third place in the armed regulation. It was a great day to cap off an amazing season by 11 truly dedicated, hardworking young citizens. Congratulations, team.
Would you each like to introduce who you brought with you?
I brought my parents right there. My mom's a teacher over at ACE Preparatory Academy, so she knows what it's like to teach, and so I also want to thank every single teacher and school administrator that's here tonight.
The people that are here to support me is my whole drill team. They're practically my family. I mean, let's be honest. And my parents and my sister. So yeah, thanks for being my family.
I brought my drill team and my two parents right there.
I also brought my drill team. And thank you guys so much for coming. Love you guys.
I brought my my mom, my dad, and my brother, and this is Senior Master Sergeant Alta, Kernan Yvonne. Oh yeah, right. And everyone else.
My mom brought me here, so I got my own ride, guys.
And also, my mom brought my sister, so yeah, that's who I brought.
I brought my dad, my mom, and my stepmom, and I really like to thank you guys for supporting me on drill team.
I brought my parents and my little brother and my drill team.
Obviously, we brought our drill team. And then I brought my mom, my brother and sister, and my dad couldn't make it. He's stuck at work, but he would be here if he could. I love you, Mom.
I love you, Mom, too, okay?
Parents, just so you know, we couldn't have done it without your support.
That's okay.
Thank you very much. Tonight, we're also going to honor our Arts Festival winners, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Jonathan Williard to help with those introductions.
All right, let's see if I can juggle today. Madam President, board members, Dr. Tomlinson, Higley families, welcome you out here today, and I have the honor of recognizing the Visual Art Show Award winners from the Fine Arts Festival that we had this year. The Higley Fine Arts Festival took place on April 13th, 2019 at the Higley Center for Performing Arts, with hundreds of families present to enjoy the Higley Arts Festival. At this time, I'd like to ask all of the art show winners and their teachers to please come forward and stand kind of next to me. Yeah, please come forward. Yes, and teachers. All right, as we go through the artworks, I'll show you each one of the winners and recognize them. If it is one of yours, go ahead and step forward when that happens. Yeah, and we'll go through. Let's also, so that we can save on time, let's wait till the end to do an applause for everyone. Okay. And the elementary level artworks. Our first is Ashley Kelsey from Bridges Elementary, Dinosaur Palooza. Also at Bridges Elementary, from Ian Davis, Modern Canyon. At Centennial Elementary, Haley Vachnin, Name Transformation. Also, thank you. Also at Centennial Elementary, Leighton Accardo, Imaginary Friend. Leighton Accardo could not make it today, so she has two of her friends going to stand up with her to kind of accept the award or accept the recognition on her behalf. Let's see. From Chaparral Elementary, Summer Soquette, Lightning Hypnofire. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Lola Foldesh, also from Chaparral Elementary, Family of Ducks. From Coronado Elementary, Sophia Torres, Foreshortening. Also from Coronado, Haley Doses, Cube Sculpture. From Cortina Elementary, Brinley Wiles, Birch Trees. Also from Cortina, Iselis Ruiz, Donut Sculpture. From Gateway Point Elementary, Keon West, Folk Art Landscape. Also from Gateway, Mally McMullen, Origami. From Higley Traditional Academy, Hector Nunez's Martin Luther King Jr. Also from Higley Traditional, Landon Kellis's Donut. From Power Ranch Elementary, Daphne Crocker's Flower Vase. Also from Power Ranch, Zoe Wild's The Hip Hop Cupcake. From Santan Elementary, Dylan Johnson, Marble Painting. Also from Santan, Barry Kingston's Venom Mask. On our middle school level art, starting with Cooley Middle School, Dylan Israel's Monster. Also from Cooley, Alicia Usman's Pie. From Sossaman Middle School, Isabel Lotic, Flying Fox. Also from Sossaman, Zhang Vo's Alabrije. For our high school level artworks, we're going to start in the 2D category for artworks, two-dimensional artworks. Madison Rochelot at Higley High, Dylan O'Brien. Williamsfield High School, Anna Kafal, Sleepy Safari. For our 3D category at high school level, we have at Higley High, McKenna Huth, Leopard Dove. And at Williamsfield High School, Rose Talia, Fairy Tea Party. In the photography area of the high school level, we had a winner from Williamsfield High, Molly Maxwell, Mind the Gap. Thank you, and congratulations to all of our award winners.
Thank you, students. Your work was very impressive. I'd like to invite forward Ms. Sherry Richards to help recognize the committee behind the Arts Festival.
Thank you, Michelle. Our annual Fine Arts Festival is truly a celebration of all of the arts, and it wouldn't be possible without the great parents, of course, our kids, our teachers, and our community members. Our committee members have really stepped up every year. So this year, I want to call them up and celebrate their work. Mr. Murphy, please come up. So Thomas had the opportunity to organize all of the events, the acts, and performances. So he's going to give you a really quick rundown of everything that was involved.
Thank you. This is a little on the spot. We're very fortunate that we have a lot of great performing groups in this district. And at our arts festival, we had orchestra, we had jazz band, we had trash can drumming groups and a conga group. We also had, we had dance and drama, and then one of our most exciting ones was the Coronado Wushu Club, which is a martial arts. It was very interesting. So we're really fortunate that we have so many good opportunities for performance in this district, and thank you for supporting all of that education.
Andrea Zobo, please come up. So Andrea jumped in this year and coordinated many things. One of the most exciting things were the spray paint artist. And if you were there, you would have enjoyed it. Now it's hanging in which two schools?
At Gateway and Santan Elementary.
Okay, so you'll have to go to those schools to check it out. So thank you, Andrea, for your hard work. Michelle Reese, it's your turn to be recognized. Events like this take a lot of work, and the publicity component, Michelle runs straight ahead and makes sure that we get the word out. So the only problem we have is we run out of programs every year. All right, Rebecca Lloyd, please come up. Rebecca works behind the scenes to make sure we have food trucks and every single detail is coordinated. So without her, this thing probably wouldn't have happened. All right, Jonathan, come back up. Jonathan's one of our art teachers, and he worked really hard all year to make sure that everything was organized and coordinated with all of our incredible art teachers across the district. Emily Perez can't be here tonight, but she was one of the main reasons this happened. And if you went to the art festival, she was the one up there introducing kids and celebrating everything that had happened. Bob Zucker, I'm not sure if he's here tonight. He is the individual that runs the Higley Center for Performing Arts, which you know hosts the event every year. And we have to get our name in at least a year ahead of time because that place is booked. All right, Karen Hearn is our Director of Community Education. She's not here this evening as well, but she was an integral part of ensuring the festival went well. Juan Grano, is he here this evening? He is the one that coordinated getting all the music stands, instruments, everything delivered in a timely manner so that the festival could go off without a hitch. And I don't want to forget Katie Atkins. Come on up. Katie's one of our art teachers, and she helped coordinate so many events that day, and we appreciate all your hard work. So 2 people from Higley High need to be recognized, Katie Davis and Fred Smith. Are they here this evening? Katie, how many phone calls did you get from us?
Not too bad this year.
Now, she coordinated everything, made sure the facilities were intact, and Fred was there at 6 o'clock that morning and ensured that we had everything we needed. So this is your Fine Arts Festival Committee.
So in the superintendent's report, we have upcoming events. So next Thursday, May 23rd, we have the high school graduations at Wells Fargo Arena. Higley High School will have their graduation ceremony starting at 9:30 a.m., followed by Williamsfield High School's graduation ceremony at 2:30 p.m. And then Friday, June 14th, we will have our governing board meeting here at the district office at 10 a.m., followed by a regular governing board meeting on June 26th at 6 p.m. here at the district office. That's the upcoming events, and then hopefully we'll have a nice 8 weeks of summer vacation.
Thank you, Dr. Thomason. We're going to move on to board comments.
There has been so many events the last 2 weeks since we have met. I can't even name them all that we have been to. We were at 8+ celebrations at Gateway, and that went off great. We've been at Williamsfield Awards. We were last night for seniors. I believe last Tuesday was Williamsfield Awards for the underclassmen. I know we have things coming up. We have Higley Global Night that we all have been at. We have been at, I think, everything in the last few weeks. And even though we might not make it to your event, we know that, we're busy, but we really appreciate all the time and energy the teachers are putting in to having these performances go off so well, because there has been so many orchestra presentations and band concerts that it's absolutely amazing. So thank you to all the teachers and staff to put those year-end celebrations on.
I would just like to make a comment. That's a huge accomplishment that took place in our district last Friday at the Chandler Gilbert Community College graduates. that there was 4 students in the Valley that were high school students that received their associate degrees from college before they graduate from high school. And of those 4, 2 were from Higley. How incredible was that? So very proud of them. So these 2 students, one is Lauren Morgan, who is from Higley High School, and Kirsten Reese from Williamsfield. They'll be joining us on the stage on the 23rd, receiving their high school degree after they have their college degree already. So I'm very, very proud. This is an incredible accomplishment for them, and I'm very proud of each and every one of them.
Thank you, Mr. Witovich, for sharing that. That's a huge accomplishment. And again, we have had so many events. We have Higley High Senior Awards tomorrow night. We have Cooley Awards and Sossaman Friday night. And this is just kind of, I know for me personally as a board member, my favorite time of year, just celebrating all the successes of our students. That's why we're here. That's why we do what we do. And so hats off to everybody that helps those. And we're going to move on to any requests, Mrs. Reach? No requests. So we're going to move on to consent agenda items. And I move that we approve the consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.12, but I am going to remove 6.4. Kevin Clauser, he rescinded his resignation and he will be staying with Higley. Any comment? Thank you. Any comments? Dr. Fowler, I just wanted to ask, I know we had talked about, I'm sorry, later. Sorry, later. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Vice President Kaler, Vice President Kaler, members of the board, in the consent agenda, you just approved the new assistant principal for Higley High School, Nicole Johnson, and she's in the audience, and we'd like to have her stand and welcome her to Higley. We are so happy to have you join our team. Do you want to introduce your family? Thank you very much.
Dr. Schillingberg, I know he's not here, but could you also just introduce Mr. Fields and the decision for that as well? Because I know Alan Fields, the principal for Higley High as well. I know he can't be here tonight, but yes. I know it was a very rigorous process. Yes. I am so thankful that we were able to interview our candidates as a community. Our students met with them, our teachers, our staff met with everybody. It was just an awesome process. Thank you, Mom, too, Mrs. Martin, sorry, for just everything you went through to make sure we got the top-notch guy, and I think we did. So I just maybe say a few comments.
We do think it was a very rigorous process, and he's coming from Alaska, so he couldn't be here, but we look forward to his arrival and supporting him.
Okay, we're going to move on to our action information items. Is there any questions on the monthly financial report? Okay. So next, we're going to move on to our 8.2 presentation of our Innovation Challenge project. And who is starting that? Thank you, Mrs. Richards.
All right, so we're super excited tonight. All of our schools are represented. They participated in our Innovation Challenge this year. They're here to see if they're one of the winners. And Miss Valerie Thomas, I need for you to come up here. Miss Thomas went around to all of the schools, and we're talking pre-K through high school, to help get a glimpse of all these exciting challenges. So we're going to let you watch this, and then we'll continue.
it's so you know how to solve problems when you probably need answers to.
You know, I really like that we get to help move their creativity to real life aspects. So the thing they're doing right now with Jack and the Beanstalk, right now they're so excited, they're making these tall beanstalks, but that'll translate later into them maybe designing buildings that can withstand earthquakes.
We are all leaders.
We're going to compete against each other to see who can make the better structure that holds the most shoes. Jimmy,
Who rides a bike around here? Who wears their helmet every time they ride their bike?
I do.
All right, try that helmet on. What a Minza, Sir Officer Avery.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dan Spindle with ABC 15. Liberty and I are here to tell you all about this wonderful wall here at Coronado Elementary School.
Calling all Tigers! Calling all Tigers! We have a very important announcement to make about something new coming to Cortina Elementary. It's called
TigerTube is a student-created video series about different topics, such as what it means to show good character, making healthy living choices, and about things that help the Cortina community, such as recycling and being kind to others.
TigerTube will be coming your way every Friday after morning announcements. Don't forget to tune in for TigerTube.
This week's TigerTube video focuses on good citizenship. Look for the students making good choices.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our virtual classroom. So today we are going to be talking about how to divide fraction by fraction. So let's go ahead and get started right away. For our first problem,
I have after school sports right after, and it was if it was not online, I probably wouldn't have been able to make it. And it's easier because I can just log on right after I get home.
It was helpful for me because I wouldn't have a group of students yelling at me and making fun of me for not understanding.
My home country is the Netherlands.
My home country is Norway.
I live in Sweden.
My home country is Japan.
I come from Italy.
Every year, a new group of foreign exchange students come to Higley from all over the world. This week, we're celebrating International Week.
We're the English department. Here we have posters and poems based off of literature from other countries around the world.
The Algebra 1 department did a bunch of currency conversion activities where the students had to pretend they were traveling.
EF has been in Higley District for probably about 11 to 12 years now. Probably had well over 60 to 70 students here between Higley and Williamsfield High School. This year we have about 8 students. These kids come from all over. Alex right here is from Germany. He's one of our students here.
Orchestra is supposed to be more classroom instruments instead of like violins and drums and stuff.
This is my favorite game in strategy because you can kind of like trick people into losing their pieces.
We're going to talk to you about advanced team sports.
Okay.
Basically, what we get to do is it's like PE, but in another day, so it's more competition. $10,000 for our school, and Mr. Mercado dressed up like a superhero.
But we come down once a week on Tuesdays, and we just bring supplies down, and then what we normally do is we come down here and we start with Kibo, and we either do Kibo the entire time, or we kind of switch and alternate and we have stations that they can go to, just to keep them interested in what they're doing.
So like when we first started coming down here, we really only brought Kibo, but then we decided, hey, maybe they might like another form of robot, so we decided to bring down the form of robots we work with 7th grade and 8th grade, and it's called Vex IQ. We have different coding games we do. We have one where the kids are the robots and they have to program their own route through a maze, and then we have another called Robot Turtles, and that one is where they have to program a robot to get to a jewel somewhere on the game board. And so we do all these to help them learn about robotics before they even hit 7th grade, so they're immersed in the ideas of robotics and how we teach it in the older classes when they're younger, so they just get an early start.
So innovation has helped me realize more things about the digital footprint, and as I get older, not to post things that can harm me in the future and not.
I feel like it helped Salzman by making everyone closer together and closer friends.
Cultivating the next generation of leaders. Higley Unified School District. Grow, learn, lead. Visit HUSD.org.
I'd like to ask the Ed Service Department to come up here. Dr. Kurikos and Ms. Miller. I'm going to get these out first, and then I want to explain a little bit. So you can take that one, and you can take that one, and then get on you. So just a little background about how we got to where we are. If the board remembers, I think it was a year ago, you actually were generous enough to send me to the Learning the Brain conference that dealt with innovation. And I attended that conference, and I actually purchased 5 books and read all of them and decided which one would really help our principals understand the idea of innovation, because again, our vision statement for our strategic plan is to have an innovative learning environment, so how can we support that throughout the district? When I read the books, a couple of them were a little too academic, a couple were too fluffy, and one was just right. So they all read The Runaway Species. And basically what that book was telling them was that in order to be innovative, you have to bend, break, or blend. The idea was nothing innovative comes from nothing. It starts by taking something and changing it, making modifications, being creative with it. So with that idea in the mind, we talked about in our department, how can we kind of inspire our schools to try something innovative? And really, Mrs. Richards told me that our principals are very competitive. So we decided the best way to really get this going throughout the district was to have a competition where the most innovative school would then win a prize of $5,000 to help support their innovation. And as you can see, we had some wonderful projects. I had to tell you, it was so difficult to pick the winners. All of the Ed Service Department went around to the schools and saw their projects. We had a rubric that we used to evaluate them, and then we picked the winner. As we sat and talked about it, we said, we just can't pick just one. So we decided to add 3 honorable mentions of $2,500 because we had so many great ideas out there. But again, everybody, you're all winners. You did a fantastic job. We're very proud of you, and we're so excited that we've seen throughout our district the idea of being innovative, inspiring, and working throughout with our teachers and staff. So our first award for honorable mention goes to the school that we believe had every student in the school participating. It was throughout the whole year, and that was expectation. It involved the entire community, and this excitement from the students was contagious. And that goes to the Bridges Elementary School. And please stay up here. I'm sure Michelle will want to get pictures. I also want to thank my secretary, Virginia, for designing these checks, and Juan in the warehouse for printing them. I don't know how he did it, but he did it, and they're beautiful. So we really appreciate that. And I also want to thank Dr. Mallerwine, who's not here, but he's the one who raised the funds in our foreign exchange account that we are able to give these awards to our schools. Our second honorable mention goes to the school that we were so impressed that they took not only an academic need and found a way to support it in their school without any additional staff, also able to incorporate social and emotional learning, which is very important, especially when you get to the secondary level. So our second honorary mention goes to Sossaman Middle School. Our third honorary mention goes to the school that we were so impressed with how what they did brought the entire school together and build a culture of supporting and giving and looking to keep improving themselves academically, but personally to be service to others. And they blew us away with everything they did, and their end results, of course, you all saw. Williamsfield High School is our third winner for almost $25,000 to make a wish. That was really impressive. Now, our big winner, and again, this was hard because everyone was so good, but this school, we thought, really took something, a great idea, but started with very little. And were very creative in how they got materials, how they got all the students involved, how they set it up so that everyone could participate and not repeat things over the years. And the excitement and enthusiasm in the school was contagious as well. So our overall winner for the Innovation Challenge is Centennial Elementary School. How about we get your award? Thank you very much. Again, we're so proud of what everyone did. You all did a fantastic job, and this was quite a fun experience for us. We hope it really continues to promote the idea of an innovative learning environment for our schools. And I'm sorry, one last thank you to Valerie Thomas for the video. It was a lot of work. Please thank you, give her a hand. That was so much work. She did a fantastic job.
I too just want to thank Valerie because the video was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you again, all the principals for coming tonight too. Thank you.
And thank you to the principals and staff who are here to show us what you've done this year with that. That's a very cool thing. Thank you, Dr. Schillingberg.
And now we're going to move on to our updated information related to the classified salary schedule.
Good evening, Vice President Kalar. Pardon me. Well, Vice President Kalar, members of the board, my fellow colleagues, and the Higley community. It's hard to follow all of that because I can surely tell you that my presentation is not as exciting as theirs. So what I wanted to do this evening is come to the board with an update with where we're at in regards to the classified salary schedule. As you recall, I've been in front of you a few times now to talk about what we need to look at as we assess Prop 206 and the impact that it has for the district, and particularly individually with our classified individuals here at Higley. It's a very basic PowerPoint that I have for you today, an update. And some of that is because of the fact is, many of you recall, we hired, well, we didn't hire, we were part of an RFP that was done by Tempe Union, and including ourselves now has grown to 9 other school districts that are part of this. As you recall, we've got Gilbert Public Schools, Chandler Unified School District, Queen Creek School District, ourselves Higley, Casa Grande, Apache Junction, Tempe Union, and then as of July 1, Kyrene, Scottsdale, and J.O. Combs are entering this classification and compensation study in which we hired JB Reward System, and our primary contact has been Mr. Vance Jacobson. So I think I've reiterated and said many times before, and I'm going to repeat that tonight in the sense that anytime you do a classification and compensation study, it is massive and it can be scary and it can be very difficult and messy. And I've used those terms in the past. So just last week, late last week, we received some initial information from our from JB Rewards, our vendor that's helping us with this. And you may or may not be surprised, but through the data gathering in which he put together, and this company works with school districts all across the nation, has done many compensation and classification studies for school districts in California, Washington State, Oregon, Arizona, other areas across the country. So the initial finding in which he came to us with our current classified schedule and said that HUSD pays 30% of the market value when it comes to classified salary schedule for those positions that we have here at our district. So we don't even compare up to 50% of the value of what the nation says these positions should be earning if doing this work or similar work. So I will say that honestly that wasn't a surprise in the bigger picture, but it means it's a bigger mountain for us to climb. So additionally to that, if you recall, when I came to you in December to talk about the fact that we had the impact of the minimum wage going to $11 an hour, as well as the fact that we knew that January 1 of 2020, it was going to go to $12 an hour, we had talked about looking at making that action July 1 instead of January 1 of 2020. And some of the dollars that we were looking at that time was approximately about $150,000 to go up to that $12 an hour. The salary schedule, the proposed schedule that Mr. Jacobson proposed to us, and I will probably work with Dr. Thomason. As I said, we just got it late last week and didn't get a chance to really evaluate everything, but you probably try to present it within a board report because the impact of that was a scary number. And if Mr. Holland was here, which he's not been, maybe he purposely left and was gone for 2 weeks so he could avoid hearing this number. But in terms of our current budget that we have for our classified salaries, and it's about 585 non-exempt positions. FTEs, it's just about, if you look at a 1.0 FTE, it's just under 400. But our current salaries in that area is $11.294 million. And with the proposed schedule that we received from JB Reward System, they were looking at modifying our schedule and placing people differently on this new proposed schedule that would look at an annualized budget of $12.249 million. So that's about a $950,000 cost for the district. I know that that is a number that is scary and makes people think back. So some of what we talked about in other presentations that I've been here in front of you is that we would look at a staged plan, a multi-year plan, or we would look at different options. And that is still an option. But before I talk a little bit more about that, I do want to share that more details in relation to that proposal. And if you ask any of my fellow colleagues on Finance Cabinet, they will share with you that this is a massive data spreadsheet that has more cells than you can count and can be overwhelming when you look at it. But the proposal was essentially that an average of 8.9% would be given across the board for our classified individuals. And that meant it could range anywhere from 2% for certain employees and where they are at, all the way up to 22.5%. And an example of that, as I see Ms. Kaler's eyes, is a school plant foreman. So as I was looking at the data, a school plant foreman that we've had in the district, who's probably worked for us for a couple of years and came with a couple of years of experience, is making currently $14.14 an hour. And when you think about what our school plant foremen do for our district, they do a lot for our sites. And many a times they act and wear many different hats. They're also the second custodian if they don't have enough custodial work or not able to get all the custodial work done. They can be an additional lunch aide. They're in there taking trash in the room. They get pulled off in various areas. So the proposal, and this is one of the higher ones at that 22.5% that I mentioned, was for that individual to go to a rate of $17.33 an hour. So that's where you could see where in some positions, another area with certain types of individuals, depending on their length of service, how long they've been with us, they're looking at just a 2% because they're already paid at market value. And one example of that was an administrative clerk that came in with a number of years of experience and has been with the district a number of years and has received some steady increases. So I wanted to share that with you as an example. And there aren't as many at that 22.5. Obviously, that's why the average is 8.9, but wanted to share a specific instance with you. So in sharing some of this preliminary information with my colleagues in Cabinet, and that number also being a scary number for them, we talked again about our approach in regards to different options and what those options could look like. So we talked about, again, a multi-year plan. Could we look to stage those increases and pick out certain employee groups and initialize into those increases now, and then look at the other employee groups and move from there? And part of my recommendation with that was the fact that when I look at the impact to our classified, the impact to our sites, the fact that these individuals know that they're underpaid and how long they've worked for us, and then are seeing people who are coming in, as we talked about that salary compression, very similar rates or higher rates, because we did have to adjust to a temporary schedule on January 1. We talked about looking at our administrative clerks and other administrative assistant categories. We talked about our custodians, and we talked about our paraprofessionals as priority areas. And we have different options in which we can present that and look at an increase for them. So if we wanted to do a proposal that would just bring them up to what our temporary salary schedule is right now, when we changed it to the 11:15 on January 1, they wouldn't be at the 11:15, but they would be placed in that schedule somewhere based on their position, their length of service, their duties, and their experience. We would look at approximately about $160,000 to make that change. If we wanted to look a step further and say, let's look at the proposed salary schedule that JB Rewards presented to us. And let me share that that proposed salary schedule, even giving and increasing our budget at that $950,000, it only brings us to the 36th percentile of market value. And so at that, we would be looking at something along the ranges of $450,000, because our largest classified employee group are our paraprofessionals. And so that's a big chunk in terms of where that impact would go. So that's another potential option for us. And I will share that Dr. Thomason and my fellow cabinet members have not heard these numbers because, again, we've just recently been looking at this, but I wanted to be able to present some of those numbers to you tonight so you had a bigger picture. So I know it's scary, but as I talk more with my colleagues, I do want to be able to come to our June 14th meeting and give you a recommendation that you can approve, in which we can then establish work agreements. And what I will do with my colleagues is work on different options so we could see what might be the best in terms of what would work for us here at Higley. But some other things that I want you to take into consideration in terms of that larger impact for the district is the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, we have 9 other school districts who are participating, 6 others who have gotten their data and are participating now. I will say that Casa Grande is an outlier. You know, they don't have the funds that we have, and so the salary schedule that was given to them was probably a much reduced rate. But I can assure you that Gilbert Public Schools, Queen Creek, and Chandler and Tempe Union were probably given salary schedules that were very similar to us, but still adjusted because they have bigger capacity. So we're gonna still be competing. So if we don't make some adjustments, then we're gonna be even less competitive in that bigger picture.
So right now, we have new people coming in. Obviously, we have to fill some positions. We have some people who have been with us for a very long time. Are there people coming in making more than the people who have been with us for a long time in the same position?
Yes. So
that to me is not okay. Just to put it out there.
Certainly.
So that to me is not okay.
So what happened was, when we came to the board in December and we said we had to adjust our salary schedule and create a temporary schedule, and Ms. Wilson, you may or may not remember because you weren't officially on the board yet at that time, we discussed the fact that we wanted to do this right and do this the best way possible. And so we did communicate, and through your suggestion, which was a great suggestion, we did road tours. And we went to everybody, all the schools that invited us to come. We had about 6 schools that invited us to come and talk and share that, yes, we understand, and through the email communication, that we're asking you to be very gracious with us, but we don't want to do this haphazardly, because if we do, then we were going to be in a position in which we were at maybe about 5-6 years ago in the Human Resources Department, where we had to correct work agreements and schedules numerous times. And then the schedule that we had active when I came here on board in the fall of 2017 had a lot of things that didn't make sense. And many of my colleagues have heard me say this, Some of that was, our part-time custodians and our full-time custodians had 2 grades different, although they do the same work. One's just full-time who gets benefits, and the other one's not full-time without benefits. We had our campus security guards who, and when you talk about impact to an organization, when they're going in and de-escalating fights or other situations that are happening at the high school level, getting paid 2 grades down from our custodians. The salary schedule got shrunken quite a bit in the sense that where it had existed before, and I understand because of cost and savings, the district wanted to go that direction. But we had a salary schedule where in our administrative assistant area, you could, based on experience, make up to, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but let's just say $15 an hour. But we shrunk that amount to where they couldn't make any more than $12.50 an hour if they came on board. So there are so many other things that we had to assess that we couldn't say, we need to change everybody now. And I don't disagree, and that's some of where we know in terms of this staged process and through Dr. Thomason understanding that too, these 3 groups that I mentioned, our administrative assistants area, our paraprofessionals, and our custodians need to be addressed now.
Are those the major positions that have been affected by this, where we're hiring at a higher rate than what somebody who has been here for 2 or 3 years is? Is that the...
In my opinion, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, those are the 3 classification areas.
Thank you for understanding my question without me getting it out.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, not a problem.
Mrs. Martins, we didn't get here overnight. It's not going to be a fix overnight, and I surely appreciate all the work that you're doing to try to make this right for our employees. I'm glad we're not alone. I'm glad we're not just Higley by ourselves out on an island, and there's all the school districts around with us. So again, this is your forte, and so I appreciate you coming forward with such detailed, even though it makes me want to have a heart attack.
No, I mean, and another path, and something I'm certainly going to go back to our consultant on, and our vendor, is the fact that we can ask to shrink that salary schedule even more. And so that can be another pathway that we take. But some interesting data points in which he provided us was that our average length of service for our classified is 4.2 years. The median is 2.8, and the average time spent in a current job is 4.2, with the median at 2.8. So similar numbers, but if you think about it, when I go back to that larger impact in that HR administration and that turnover, those employees are finding, as I said, they're going to Costco down the street and making $15 an hour. They're going to Target and making $13 an hour. And it's really in the road tours that we had done, and I've got a couple of my colleagues here in Human Resources who are wonderful and have supported this and helped in this process, done a lot of work, actually, a lot of legwork. If you remember, I told you we looked and pulled every single classified employee's file and looked at data so that way we could look at it accurately. One of the things that we heard countless times is that they were appreciative that we came out. They were appreciative that we talked to them, answered their questions, and they wanted us to hear that they're not here to make money. They're here because they love Higley, they love what they do, they love the people they work with, and it works for them because their kids are part of the community. They're invested in other ways, and that's what keeps them here. But at some point, and anecdotally, a conversation that one of my employees had with another employee earlier this week was the fact that she, all those things, loves who she works with, loves where she's been, and has been with us for a long time. But every year when she gets her work agreement, she has to ask herself, can I come back on this salary? Can I come back? All those things that I love about Higley, is that going to help me to support my family and to do what I need to do as a single mother, et cetera, right? And so we don't want our employees having to ask that question every year either. We want them to be able to say, no doubt about it, hands on, I'm coming back. Because the other part of this is, our classified individuals are at-will employees. They get work agreements that are at will. So there's no commitment. They could leave us at any point. And a lot of times during the summer, we do see a lot of turnover because they'll spend time finding other positions, especially our employees who are 10 months. They'll leave us and go elsewhere. So I know I gave a lot of stuff. One other components that I want to mention is that as we said before, this classification and compensation study was only going to focus on classified staff first, but we will be addressing administrators and certified early next school year for the following school year. So those are still on our radars too. And I'm sure you have lots of questions, but I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Martins. I have some random thoughts, I suppose. But I think you all know that I truly support this work and raises for our classified folks, and more and faster. I don't think any of them are overpaid, and I would challenge anyone who says so to do that work for a week, and none of it is easy. There's also the related training costs that we absorb for paraprofessionals, et cetera, when we have turnover. So some of that. But I was at a state meeting of educators this past Saturday, and there was a big room of 600 educators, and the question was, raise your hand if you're a teacher and you get a 5% raise, and not everybody's hand went up, and people were like, oh, okay, we get it. Some is 5, some is less. But then it was like, well, how many of your classified staff got 5%? And like almost all the hands went down. Because very few of the classified got, and it's not funded by the state, but we have to try to find it. But they're not keeping pace, and they're making the least of all of us. So it got me starting to think about, as we move towards 20 by 20, and the funding really is geared toward teachers, we really should start to think about next year sharing that more broadly. Because what was it, 2 to 3%, something like that this year, Dr. Thomason?
2%.
2%. See, so you could take smaller and give more to those who need it the most, but that's an uncomfortable conversation. But I would challenge anybody to think about that and think about what makes their school go and work. And so, anyway, I guess that's. Let me see if I had anything else written down. Oh, 2 more things. Sorry. I'm willing to help budget-wise to look at whatever you'll let me look at and work with you and try to find things. But speaking of the innovation challenge, we could ask our employees and challenge them and come up with a fun challenge of where can we save money with a goal in mind. Sometimes we ask people, how can we save money? It's just sort of abstract, but how could we save money so that we could pay our classified folks more, and they might be more open or receptive and come up with some pretty good ideas, because there's always things that people think of. So that's just a thought that I had that might challenge folks. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Glover. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. I see that we took our road tour to 6 schools. Kind of curious as why we only picked 6 when it's so important that all our community, all our schools are aware of it. Even if one of the schools that you didn't visit has that need and has that question, I think it's important to them to understand that they are part of the family, because it's very important to that. So I don't know how the decision was made to 6, but I think it's, how do you know what you don't know? And I think whatever program and tour you did, it should be available for all the schools in our school district.
No, absolutely. So I initially sent out the email to all of my fellow colleagues and administrators asking for some time on if they wanted me to come. I worked with some in which they were able to identify and know the information well enough that they felt that they could communicate and work with their teams. Some asked me to come, and the reality is there's very few of us and many of them, and the fact that getting them all in the same place at the same time was hitting their employee staff meetings, and those only occurred so much. So I did quite a few in a short period of time.
Sure, I understand, but you are the face, you are the new face of our Human Resources Department, and I think for other people to make that decision, no, you don't come to my school, I think it's important for each and every one of your department to be in every one of our schools, because you have a story to tell, and when you're expecting somebody else to tell that story, we need to make sure it's the same story.
Certainly.
And you have a great wealth of information versus the person who might be the second person telling that may tell it a different way. And so I really would like you to take a look at visiting each one of our schools in our district.
Sure. Okay. And that's something I certainly could do, Mr. Witovich, especially as decisions are going to be made here. There's very left of this week left, but into next week, and a lot of our 10-month employees will be gone, making sure that as we kick off and start the new year, that I'm visible and having those discussions and sharing and going to sites.
Mrs. Martins, I know that you inherited a very big problem. So I just appreciate all you've done, and I didn't mean my comment to be downgrading or anything, but I'm sorry in advance, but I do want to let you know I appreciate all you've done for us, because you have inherited some problems, and I appreciate that you go through, and your staff, and all that you guys are going through to make this right for our employees at Higley. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't take anything personally, unless it's targeted at me personally. No, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Martins, and we'll see you again in June. Thank you. And next, get here. I move. Is this a vote? Darlene, I vote.
Yes, it is. This is the 8.4 approval of sponsor burst marketing agreement.
I move that we approve the sponsor burst marketing agreement.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Would like to go first? I'll go first if you want. I'm going to start out with the fact that I'm just very uncomfortable with bringing an outside agency in. I did take a look at them on the internet. It shows that they're a sole vendor, and it just makes me a little nervous when we have nothing to compare this to. And my other question is, if there's just one company out there, so is there really a need for this? If there's schools across the country saying, wow, we need to do this, and this is a great opportunity, there would be a number of companies out there doing this type of thing. Some of the questions I have in reference to this is like the signage. Our community built these fields and things like that. And when you start putting a sign up, it becomes that field. It doesn't become Higley's field any longer. And the discussion is like, how many signs are we going to have on our campuses? I mean, is this going to look like Chevy Chase and Christmas, that program where there's going to be signs all over the place? We need to look at a policy in reference to where we're going to do. Some of the other concerns that I do have is we watch the internet out here, and so fast, if you bring a company and you have signs on this campus and there's something goes a dark path with that company, then that we don't want to be there, because you're going to have signage of something, and if that company goes down a dark path, we're going to be brought down that dark path too, because guess what? We have their names all over our campus. Another thing to think about is when you bring names on campus, you're starting to endorse products. So when a student sits on an athletic field and sees a certain name of a company all over the place, that starts talking about we're endorsing those products. Whether you want to or not, it's out there. And it's just a lot of questions I have in reference to what's taking place. And I'm just, I'd like to take a look at our policies in reference to those type of things and where the signage is, and before we even take a look at, because I think it says in the thing, it's 20% we're giving back to this company for bringing a sign into the community. And, I just think we have a lot more information that we need before I even take a look at this.
Dr. Fowler, do you want to address any of these concerns?
Yeah, there's quite a few there, so we have to start from the beginning. So the first one, yes, this company is the only cloud-based marketing company in the United States, although there are many marketing companies out there. We've actually looked at quite a few of them. This is the only one that's cloud-based, a cloud-based marketing company, and certainly I think a lot of the concerns, Mr. Wojtowicz, that you addressed within the agreement, there's no sponsorship that as a district we would have to agree to. In their agreement, any proposal that they find in terms of a company that would like to sponsor us would be subject to our approval. And so literally if they have 3 companies that they find, each one individually would be brought to us, and we wouldn't move forward with those companies unless that was something that we brought and was approved. And so we have complete control over the companies, what they sponsor, how they sponsor, what the signage, if there's signage, all of those pieces that you addressed concern the Chevy Chase look of a field, or Chico bail bonds, if you like, Bad News Bears in the outfield. Any of that stuff, that's completely our control. What we're trying to do is be innovative. Sponsor Burst would be the first cloud-based marketing company that partners with an Arizona school. If you saw from my presentation, the last board meeting, there's plenty of schools in Ohio and Indiana and in the Midwest and the East that already do this, and some very lucratively to the tune of millions of dollars each year. And so trying to be a good steward of the limited funds that we have, and knowing that we do have very well recognized extracurricular programs, be it athletic, music, performing arts. There is an opportunity for us to look at ways to increase revenue. Certainly revenue, even based on our earlier presentation just previously, that it's always a concern. I think the neat opportunity with Sponsor Burst is it's another revenue stream. It's a revenue stream that right now we don't have, but it's one that we'd have complete control of as a district as well, and as a board even, to say, well, thank you, that's a great company, but at this point in time, that's not a company that we'd want to move forward with. And we have that ability with each and every potential sponsor.
When I looked them up on the internet, I did not see that they're a member of the Better Business Bureau for the state of Ohio, and that's where they're located at. So, I was trying to look for reviews about the company, those type of things, and it's not out there. So, and with a single vendor like this, when those type of things, when we're talking about schools across, the East doing these things, why are they not a member of the Better Business Bureau? Why isn't there a lot of reviews out there in reference to that?
I know a lot of people are not doing Better Business Bureau anymore. A lot of businesses are stopping that, Mr. Witovich, just due to the demand of it. I did ask Dr. Thomason some of the same questions about if we can deny certain sponsors, and it was very clear that it was easy to deny those. So I did have the same concerns that you did. Before the last board meeting, I believe we met and I talked about this. And I think we did ask at some point for different revenue sources, and this was something that the cabinet thought was appropriate, which I did ask if we were having trouble with finding sponsors for different events, and it did seem like our PTOs are struggling. So to find different posters, especially over at Williamsfield for their signage, there was some questions if they could get enough. So that is a concern for them.
And Dr. Fowler, this doesn't affect any current sponsors that we have in our community, like our local realtors and our orthodontists and those type of things. We still keep all that signage and still have those communications and those relationships.
That's correct. We wouldn't impact any of the current work being done by our schools, our boosters, our PTOs, any of that. This would be separate from all of that.
And I guess the one question that Mrs. Reese had last time was about that if a company goes under, are we able to end that type of, like if we have a sponsor and for some reason, even like we take them on, we think it's a great decision, and then we find out later, oh, they are supporting of this, and that's not a Higley type of, culture.
Something that we wouldn't endorse as a district. That would be written into our agreement, and certainly Mrs. Good has reviewed that. She's on the rivers in France right now, but I know that we work very closely with her, like we do all of the time with any contracts, and it would spell that out. Even the agreement with Sponsor Burst is written with the right to either side terminate within with 30 days notice, and so there are some checks and balances within there. Certainly, we want to make sure that we do our due diligence and are very careful about. Clearly, there's companies that we wouldn't even consider, looking at, and we'd only bring ones that would be matched with what we represent as a district, and we feel that would be worthy in terms of connecting with us and live up to the high standard and expectations that we have as a district. So that would be kind of a starting point for sure.
Dr. Fowler, so I know you said that you said it, the proverbial we approve, but really is that you or we wouldn't come in a situation where an athletic director at a high school could approve something. You are the ultimate person that would approve something, is that correct?
Yes, but it would come to cabinet.
We come to cabinet, okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure, because I think we've had some renegade stuff that, in the past that has caused, okay, so that makes sense. And then, Dr. Thomason, I don't know how often that's going to happen, but maybe just as we start out with, because there seem to be some concerns, maybe that's something to include in the superintendent's report when something happens, so that we are also aware, and that, I don't know how many. I mean, if it's a little sign, if it's a big thing, maybe you could include that information in the superintendent's report for us.
Absolutely.
When it happens.
Vice President Kaler, members of the board, I could definitely include that in the board reports for any new sponsor we received through Sponsor Burst. But I also want to let you know now, at this point in time, we do have a lot of booster clubs out there that have already garnered their own sponsorship for different activities and different things. Some of the brochures that we have advertisement in them. Some of the things that we've put out as a district for our HCPA have some of our business partners that have advertised them. So this is something that is not new or unusual to the Higley Unified School District. This is just another opportunity for a revenue stream, trying to think outside the box as part of our plan to move forward and to raise some of those funds and some of those monies to take care of some of our facilities and some of our equipment needs and those type of things. And so absolutely, we take a look at all those. And if it's a question whether something's appropriate or not, it's not appropriate, if you got to think about it.
Yeah. And then the only other thing, I guess, the revenue when it comes in, that's basically what fund? It's unrestricted capital, or where? I mean, where does it go?
Yeah, that goes the same as our community education funds. It'll be a 500 account. It's unrestricted funds, so we could utilize those funds for whatever the district needed, what the priorities were for the district. So that's the best kind of capital to receive, so we can put it where we need. We have used those funds in the past to pay for supplemental stipends for some of our teachers that go above and beyond for after-school work and duties and club sponsors and those things. We've used that for equipment for our schools, playground equipment. We've used those funds for PE equipment. We've used those funds for library books. Those funds have been extended across the district to every school.
So do we have a process in place, a policy, as like who is going to be this committee, so there's not going to be confrontations with businesses to say, well, so-and-so got through because he's friends with so-and-so? I mean, do we have something written down in reference to this decision-making process for signage and what's coming on our campus here?
Because we're currently going through a sponsor burst firm, we don't have any procedures in place. It's something that we can certainly put in place, but my thought process would be that it would come to cabinet to be approved, and if it's a company that would like to be sponsored at one of our high schools or elementary schools or middle schools, that would come through the process and be vetted by the cabinet.
So has our attorney taken a look at this and had a conversation with you in reference to the process?
Absolutely. This has been brought up in cabinet on several occasions.
So we're going to have something written down in reference to this process? Or is this?
Right now, we do not have a written down process. Right now, the process is to approve Sponsor Burst, to find out what solicitations we get, what they bring in, bring it to cabinet, see if it's an appropriate sponsor for our district, and it'll be approved or disapproved at that point in time.
But if we don't have anything written down yet, so how can we start bringing people forward with this?
Well, Mr. Otovich, we have clubs and sponsors right now that are advertising on our signs and on our schools already that we don't have a process in place. We probably should something in process, and we do have some things in our policy that we follow, but at this point in time, we just haven't put that in there.
A lot of that goes through our boosters, correct? Right now, even, it goes through our boosters, and we don't really have even a say in that as far as it goes through our...
Vice President Kaler, we do have a say in that because these are our facilities. And I have gone out to schools in the past, and if I've seen an inappropriate advertisement, then I would work with that booster club to refund the money, which I have done in the past, and remove the signage.
See, that's the case where, you know, it should have been taken care of before. That should never have happened, that you saw that sign. There should have been a plan in place and procedures in reference to signage on all our campuses. And it makes me a little nervous that booster clubs can put signage up and there's nobody questioning or there's no process in this district. So, before we start looking at bringing outside agencies, and maybe we need to take a look at what we're doing right now before we even move forward.
With all due respect, Mr. Otovich, I do think this is a great process. I do think the sponsor burst does put processes in place and lets us vet the signage that goes up to our schools, because now we have a contract in place. Now we have a process of bringing it to cabinet to be sponsored by the Higley Unified School District and put in place. So I do believe this contract and bringing it through the cabinet is a vetting process that I think would be put in place right now with this contract, as to where we don't have one at this time with our booster clubs.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And now we're going to move on to food. And I haven't had dinner yet, so I was really hoping you brought some more samples, because it was so yummy. Well, you should have been on this committee, because it was really fun. So let me go here. Is there a presentation, or is it just an approval? Thank you. I move that the governing board approves the award of the RFP 19-1-24 for food service management to Chartwells for the 2019 to 2020 school year.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I do have a question. Are these the Chartwell people? Okay. Can I ask you a question? Okay. Do you serve on wax paper, or are they on trays?
On wax paper?
Yes, or are they on trays?
No, I'm not aware of any use of
They're
wax
on
paper.
trays, correct?
We either use trays, boats, number of different vessels,
Perfect.
depending on what we're serving.
Awesome. At one point, one of the companies used wax paper, and it was in like a boat with wax paper, and I heard a lot of complaints from parents, so that's why I'm asking that direct question.
No, I've never
Okay,
used
great.
that.
Perfect.
There's
Thank
a
you.
lot of people in the room that were on the committee, so if there's any
Yes,
other questions
that would be
you
the one
have,
question that
or-
I had, because I was concerned a few years ago with the wax paper. Lots of
And-
parents complained.
Oh.
I heard about it back then, and I heard about it a couple days ago when I saw this on the agenda.
No,
We'll
if,
never use wax paper.
I think we're in really great hands. You guys went all out when it came to every presentation that you came to us with. Their tasting was phenomenal. The high school, kind of the cafe vision that we have for both our high schools is phenomenal. There's these yogurts to goes and hummus and veggies, and I mean, my mouth's watering because I am so hungry right now. But they really went all out for us, and I could tell that they wanted our business as much as everybody else, but it was definitely, you guys came with your guns loaded, and I appreciated that very much, being on the committee. Thank you for all you did. I know that everybody was involved, and it was a long process, so I totally respect the whole RFP process now. So with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome to Higley, and we're excited to have you. Thank you.
Thank you to all the committee too, because as Mrs. Kaler said, I'm sure I've been on those committees and they are long sometimes, and not everyone agrees. So thank you, because I know that's not always the easy task. Thank you.
We're going to move on to the next
Vice
portion.
President.
Oh, go ahead.
Kaler, I just want to say that I'm so proud of the committee on that Pick the Food Service. We definitely did what we feel was in the best response for our students. It is not the highest guarantee, but I can tell you it is the best thing for our students in climate and culture and product and service and just everything that they can bring to the table for our students. We did go with what's best for our community and our students in this, and I'm extremely proud of the committee that was involved in this, because it was not an easy decision, and we did what's best for students. So thank you very much for that.
Yes, I'm excited not to see so much elementary lunch in the trash. That would be good. So thank you again. So we're going to move on. I have a motion. I'm losing my words tonight. I'm so sorry. I move that we approve the food service meal price changes for the 2019 to 2020 school year.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Vice President Kaler? Once
Dr.
again, you'll
Thompson.
see this come to you every year. We have to increase due to the federal food programs, and so the maximum increase is 10 cents per year, and so we have to get caught up to a certain approval price for the federal programs, and so this is something you'll see probably come back again next year.
Thank you, Dr. Thomason. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries. And our last action item is for Williamsfield. I move that the governing board approves the job order contract to McCarthy Building Company with the following as the first alternate, Waltz Construction and Sun Valley Builders as the second alternate.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Glover. Any comments or questions?
I did go over to Williamsfield, I believe yesterday, to check out what we currently have, and wow, that room is small. And it did not smell very pleasant either. So it was very nice of them to give me a little tour of the area and what it was going to, the vision for it, but it was nice to see.
As we, this building looks great. I guess, are we going to be using this for physical education classes too? It's just not only sports, it's going to be our phys ed too, so we're just not solely using it for our sports teams for training?
Yeah, so weight training classes happen like 0 hour all the way through the end of the day. So yeah, very heavy PE use for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And we have a plan in place in reference to cleaning the equipment and maintenance and all those type of things too as well?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay, thank you.
I did ask, they said that there was over like 100 kids in there at 6th hour, and that room is not big enough for 100 sweaty children, I have to say. And some of them are probably not children looking anymore, as we saw tonight, some of the.
It'll be utilized 7 periods a day.
Yeah, it was, I can't imagine having over 100 children in there.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Glover.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Well, Dr. Fowler, if there's anything else you want to add as well to the conversation, but this is just a one step, and I think there's other steps that we're hoping to have ready for action in November as well. But if anything you wanted to add for the community, anybody listening or whatever, but I'm...
That is correct. We presented last time, but this is a facility that brings Williamsfield up to really a need that they have in terms of their weight program. That's both PE curricular and extracurricular as well, and just looking to provide the students there the best experience possible they can as it relates to the weight training, and that impacts obviously a lot of the athletic programs there, very successful athletic programs at Williamsfield, but continue that, and facilities is a big part of that, and anytime we have an opportunity to improve facilities, we want to do that for sure.
As Dr. Thomason always likes to say, it's always going to be a battle between Higley High needs and Williamsfield needs, and this is definitely a step in the right direction in helping Williamsfield get something that they didn't have. So I'm excited for them, and I know that they are very excited too. Y'all remember we had a group of moms that came and showed us some disparities between the two schools, so I appreciate the hard work that everybody's done behind this. And again, McCarthy, we've worked with them before at Williamsfield. They know the campus very well, so I think that's a great decision. And with that, any other questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Future agenda items. It's wrapping up the end of the year here, so our summer is our typical. We're going to have budget information. We'll hear from Ms. Martins again in June. We have adopting the budget. We also have our superintendent evaluation coming up. Is there anything else that our board would like to see on our upcoming future agendas? Mrs. Wilson.
I know we talked about it a little bit, Mrs. Kaler and I, about handling our bathroom situation at our high schools. I don't know if that's something you,
Dr.
maybe wanna
Fowler
speak about?
sent me a fabulous email, and I can't forward it to everybody because that's, I guess, I shouldn't. But maybe perhaps some more information can come our way. I was so impressed, Dr. Fowler, how quickly you responded to this need, and just your plan in place is fantastic.
And I promised to share with our superintendent and have him included in the superintendent's report.
Thank you, because that's something we heard a lot from our seniors, that those bathrooms need to be handled. So I appreciate you guys being right on it. 'Cause
He's on
that's
it
awesome,
this summer.
because that's amazing to be right on it that quickly. So thank you.
So Vice President Kaler, members of the board, so if it so pleases the board, we can bring the completion of that report to the board as a presentation when it's completed.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. With that same conversation, and I don't know if this is something that is a policy that needs to be put into place, or if there needs to be, it's not really an information. I just want to make sure that moving forward when it comes to senior pranks, which we've heard a lot about this past week, that we have clear policies in place on procedures, discipline, all the things. You know, contracts are being signed by our seniors, and already on it. She's mouthing to me, already on it. Thank you, Mrs. Corey, for that. So I'll just stop talking now. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you again to all of our staff, our teachers, our administrators. Thank you for wrapping up this year in such a fabulous way. We love all the celebrations we get to attend, and I just appreciate everybody's work that makes Higley tick. And I'm just very, very grateful. I hope everybody has a fabulous summer. And with that, I move to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.